Okay, everybody, this video is a brief tutorial to walk you through the first parts of our assignment where we're going to be using the eSports dataset. We're trying to build some marketing response models that we can use to predict how much somebody spends specifically on avatar skins. So right now, there's many different response models we'll be building in the assignment. We're going to build the first two together in this video, response model 1 and 2. In response model 1, we're going to just use somebody's membership status, whether they're a free battle pass or elite battle pass purchaser, and to see if we can predict how much they'll spend on skins. In response model 2, we're going to use a simple linear response model just with a y-intercept and a linear parameter here and we'll use just number of friends. Later response models get more complex. Now you can set this up a lot of different ways in our spreadsheet. But if you want to follow the exact same format that I do here, so you can ensure that your results and structure are just a little easier to trace, follow this video now. So here's our raw data set that we start working with. The first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to add insert more rows across the entire data set to help us to work a little bit here. And then let's in L, I'll call this response model 1. We're going to need 3 spots for the parameters for battle pass. We need 3 spots because, well, we have 3 statuses. And right now, the part that I'm typing here is just for me. The actual model doesn't need this labeling, but it's always good to sort of label values that you might be messing with as inputs later, which we will be. And I used elite VIP, but I should call it elite battle pass. Stick with the correct terminology that's in there. Okay. So for now, I'll just use placeholders of like, I don't know, we'll guess $2, $5, and $10 for these 3. And here, let's build our actual column of predictions. Now, to build a prediction model, we need to look up their membership status here, and then just return the value that we have here. Different ways we could do this, but since it's already all tidily organized, we can use a skill that we've already built previously in our class and use a VLOOKUP. Now, I have to type these exactly the same way that they are in the column, because I'm going to be using this to look up the values in these columns. And right now the data is organized for free, mostly free, no surprise. We have some Battle Pass players and some Elite Battle Pass players. So for our prediction, we can use a simple VLOOKUP. This is not a VLOOKUP tutorial. We're just going to go quickly here. We've already learned how to use this. Here's our array. Make sure it's an absolute reference. Return the second column, and we need to make sure we have an exact match because we're looking for exact words. And there we go. We can drag this all the way down. There, it's working, right? Elite Battle Pass is being predicted to spend $10. Battle Pass $5. Free $2. And we can change these values. Let's switch it to like 5, 8, and 10. And we can see that for free, it switched to a prediction of 5. Now we know that these predictions aren't accurate because for these 1,000 people at least, we actually know how much they've spent on avatar skins. And in this case, we have an error of about $44.50 for this prediction. So we need to capture that that error between our prediction and reality. So we can call this column prediction error, and in parentheses I'll say ABS because there's a few different ways that we can capture error. In this case, we're going to be using the absolute value. So to do that, we use the abs function. And we say, it doesn't really matter which order you do the subtraction. We have spending on skins right here, minus the prediction of 5. And there's our absolute error of our prediction. And we can double click on this and it'll propagate all the way down. The reason we want the absolute value is because we don't care if the error was we guessed too high or we guessed too low. It's just error in either direction. So the absolute value ensures that we capture that. And you can see that our predictions are generally not performing particularly well. Like down here, this person only spent 75 cents. And right now our error for that one isn't too bad. But we do need a summary metric to sort of give us an overall sense of how well our predictions are doing. And that's where instead of each individual prediction, we want to summarize this error with the loss function called mean absolute error. It's just literally is just the average of all of our individual absolute errors. So it's literally just a average function of all of these prediction errors. So right now, on average, we're missing by about $34 per prediction. That's not great. We could start fiddling with these numbers. Let's just 2, 44, 32, and our mean absolute error drops down to 29. I'm going to colorize this as well because this is a particularly important cell. I'm not going to do all the coloration and window dressing I did in the one that I showed you first. You can do that in your free time. But here's our first response model. The important thing to understand is that we have the ability to adjust these parameters. We can calibrate the model, right? So by sort of nosing around and adjusting these values, well, that changes our prediction. And by changing our prediction, it changes our error. And by changing our error, it of course changes the average absolute error. Our goal is, since these are the only three things we can change, is we want to adjust these values such that it gets these as low as possible. How can we do that? Well, we can just keep nosing around with different adjustment of values. Or as I'll show you in the next response model, there's a more efficient way to do this. Okay, so that's our first one. I'm going to move on over here to our next response model 2. And this is a more, this one's going to be a little more of like the traditional setup approach that we often would do for building a response model with like a linear predictor. So now we need a y-intercept. So we have a b0, that's our y-intercept. You might remember when we were making a line in algebra class, same idea. And then we're going to be using just a single predictor this time, and this is going to be number of friends. Now, number of friends is a different type of variable than the battle pass variable, because the battle pass variable is categorical. We needed a specific parameter value for each one of the type of people to build our prediction. For number of friends, though, we're going to treat it as a linear predictor. If we look over here at number of friends, which is in column, oh, here we go, E. See, it's a continuous value going from 0. Some people don't have any in-game friends to higher values. So for now, let's just set that again arbitrarily. I think my guess would be like as people have more friends, they probably spend more on their avatar skins. So I'll assume like the relationship between friendship, number of friends in game, and spending is about 25 cents. It's just a guess, wild guess. I think as you have an additional friend, you on average probably spend another 25 cents on avatar skins. So we do the exact same thing here. Again, we need a section for our predictions based on this. And then we also are going to have a column for prediction error. Yes. And this time, though, we're building a linear model in our prediction. So the form of the linear model is equals to the y-intercept. We need to make sure we have absolute references there, plus the slope effect times the number of friends that somebody actually has. So that would be here, in this case, E8. And that value will change because we need to have different number of friends for each person. So right now our model is predicting $10.50 for this first person. We can drag this down. There's our predictions. We can also capture our error. Again, because we're doing absolute value, it doesn't really matter which order we do this. So spending on skins minus our prediction. Here's how much we're off. And we also needed the mean absolute error of this model. These are two completely separate models. And I'll add a little color here as well, just so it's easy to track. And again, we'll just do the average function. Just take an average of all these values that we just generated. And again, we can adjust our response model parameters. So I'll switch it to like 5.0. Notice that in this particular case, our mean absolute error dropped. So our model's getting better. We're being less wrong as we adjust these. I'll switch this 10 to maybe say 20. Wow, our model improved even more. That's great. Maybe I adjust this from 0.5 to 0.75. Wow, our model's getting even better. Maybe I adjust it to 1.1. Improving even further. Fabulous. Let's maybe try 2.3. Oh, it's way too much. The effect of friendship on how much people spend on skins is not nearly that strong, and our model actually got worse again. So clearly, I could just sit here and keep nudging these two different values until I find the lowest absolute mean absolute error. You know, there's some combination of these two values that is going to get this as low as possible. So how do we do that? It seems a little tedious. The easier way to do that would be to use Solver to help us. So if we go to data up top here, and the Solver add-in, if you don't have it added into Excel yet, you need to go do so. Go Google how to do that. It's free. It's easy. Solver. And we're going to use Solver in kind of a slightly novel way than is typical. We're going to use it to actually help us build the model, because it asks us, well, what's your objective? And I said, well, my objective here is I know I want to get this mean absolute error as low as possible. So I want to minimize it. And there's only, at least for response model 2, there's only two things I'm allowed to change. I can change these two inputs here. In my case, it was O2 and O3. There's no constraints. They can be whatever the best positive or best negative value they are to get this number low is fine. So I don't need to add any constraints to this model. In fact, I need to uncheck this, make unconstrained variables non-negative. These parameters could be negative, maybe. So we need to allow for that. And without getting into the wrinkles of how Solver works, we're going to try to make this thing do a very thorough job. So we're going to use the GRG nonlinear. And under the options here, we're going to ask it to use multi-start and not require bounds on variables. Why we're doing this is not important right now, other than it means it's going to run a little harder for us. So hopefully it'll try to find the best value. Let's solve. There you go. In my case, it ran really fast. That's great. Solve our conversion probability to a global solution. In other words, it moved around the inputs to try to minimize the output. And it believes it found the best answer, or something very, very, very close to the best answer. So we'll keep that solution. And there you go. We now actually have our response model 2 calibrated effectively using Solver rather than having to nose around the values the whole time. So this basic structure is exactly what you're going to want to do for all the other response models. There's going to be some additional wrinkles along the way that you're going to do some additional thinking, but this structure will serve you well as the basic approach to work through almost all of the assignment. Good luck.